Hey, Kenny here. Welcome to Let's Draw. Today we're going to be taking a look at the kind of revamp for my character in Crossover with the upcoming reboot of the series over on Game Theory. Okay, so I already had the head ready, and so what I did was I brought up the old drawings as a reference. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just drawing over the body. I want to make sure that everything stays about the same size, and more importantly, he stays in size, the same size to the professor, because I won't be changing him that much. So you see me here just doing some basic sketching. I want to get the arms I want the arms to look a little bit more natural when they fall. So they're kind of hanging on the side like that. Now I flip it because I need to be able to see things a little better. And this shows me that one arm is kind of maybe sticking out too far, the one in the back. And I kind of need to pull that back a little bit to kind of match the other one. See, his arms should be going more further back behind the body. So you see I'm just going to, anytime now I should be wiping out that whole thing. Well, I guess it's going to happen. I jumped the gun. He's wearing a hoodie this time. I changed the design. I wanted to go a little bit more casual with this. It was actually something Drake was worried about. And I'm like, well, the professor's got his iconic look, and I kind of want to take a couple steps back from that. One of the things that Ronnie has always said, Ronnie of Digressing and Side Questing, name drop, has always said is he admires my clean lines. And the way I do it is I draw the line over several times. And I try to do it in a sweeping motion so that you don't get a lot of hand shakiness in there. I've got a really nice drawing tablet, but I don't have the kind that has like a screen on it or anything. There's just errors with I don't know how to fix the image when it rotates like that. So reopening it here. And I forgot what I was saying. So anyways, you see a lot of those sweeping lines right here. And I like to work ahead of myself sometimes. So you're going to see very early on I start coloring in. That's how I work. And because it helps me see the image as a whole is if, I have the torso done, colored, and shaded before I start moving over to the arms. And it helps me just visualize it. So right here, I'm just finishing off the bottom of the hoodie right there, adding in some little details. I work with a 32 size brush when I'm doing the outlines, and a 16 when I'm doing the detail shots. I'm just borrowing some of the colors from the old look. I want to keep the color scheme. I don't want to deviate too much. I've changed the face a lot. I have lost 55 pounds this past year, so I mean it's pretty outrageous. And I wanted the new picture to kind of look like a thinner me. So I mean it's a little bit vain, and it was in need of some revamping. And I don't really wear my hair like that anymore. And if you ever see me again, you may not recognize me by that. So it's whatever. It's a lot of vain things here. And what I'm doing here is we've got a new editor on Crossover, and I'm doing some things to kind of compensate for the animation. This is a trick I do for when I'm going to have like the skeleton arms. Is what we call it. Is I draw these black lines in so that I can go ahead and color it in, and then I just get rid of them. And this enables me to have a real clean break, so that I know when I'm going back over this to draw the arms, and you'll see later, I know where I need to kind of have them connect at, and how that needs to look. So this is again what I'm talking about is my shading. I go and I do a black. This is all cell shading, so I don't really do any advanced stuff here. I just do black, and I do 40%. I always do 40% unless I'm doing any kind of dramatic lighting. Then I might do like a 60%. Rare occasions I'll do up to an 80%. All right, so I think we're moving on to the arms here. I've sped this up 500% because I didn't want this to be like an hour and a half long video like some of the other ones were. Again, you see me draw those lines several times. I'm looking for an exact kind of approximation of all the different lines you see in the sketch. So I'll go through and I may draw a line like 20 times before I find the version that I like. So here we go. And I'm going to do this thing again with that black line. That's what I'm talking about here. And then I'm going to hide the layers behind it. I don't know. I was having some issues that day. And here I'm just borrowing the colors for the watch. I do wear a watch in real life. It's how I tell time. I was born in the 80s. I'm not used to looking at a cell phone to tell me the time. So I'm dating myself there. Just some added shadowing. You see like what I'm doing is I don't wait until the end to jump in with my shading. I do it as I go. And even with the shade lines, I go through and you see I'm cleaning it up. And I want where I want it to look sharp, it needs to look sharp. And so now we're going to do, I decide that I really wanted to show this off on Twitter, and I wanted it to have a more dynamic pose. So I drew a different pose here for the arm, and you'll see that, and immediately I was like, no, this is not going to work, because you see where the hand was at the chest, it's not going to read well if I were to silhouette this. And by silhouette, I mean just like a flat, everything is flat black. And can you still read the pose if everything is black? And if I had the hand over the chest like that, then no, you wouldn't be able to. Here, if everything was black, you'd be able to tell where both of his hands were. And that's always very important to me when I draw poses, is that silhouetting for me is always key. I love drawing hands. I took an art history class one time, and people told me that the professor said, what is the hardest part to draw of the human anatomy? And everyone raised their hands and said hands. And I have always loved drawing hands. And whether or not I've been good at it in the past, it's always fun, and that's something I never thought was particularly difficult. Someone else also once told me that ears were difficult to draw for them, and I think ears it's just a basic, you figure out how you want to draw an ear, you do it once, and then you do it 1,000 times. Again, this is what I'm doing with my cleaning up of my lines here. I do not have these clean lines that Ronnie likes on the first time through. This happens later. And here I made the arm. It didn't quite match the other arm that I just made. So in kind of keeping continuity here, I go through and I just completely redraw it, because it needs to look like it's kind of folded up there at the arm at the right spot. And then I just go through and I'm coloring it in. I did get married, so I have a wedding ring on here. It's my wedding ring. It's silver like that. Again, do the shading. That I added a little extra because it's silver, or it's white gold technically, but so it should should have a little bit more of a shine to it, even though I don't really put shine in hair or anything when I draw, and that's just personal preference. Now what I'm going to do now is, with any hoodie, you need those little dangly bits that hang off the hood, and so I draw those. And this is like the laziest thing, is I drew it in black, and then I went through and I did a color overlay, and then put stroke on the side, and then this is just me moving. And I don't remember what kind of issue I was having here, but I had the damnedest time trying to select the pieces of it. And so there we go. And then I'm just checking all my layers, and added details right here on the body, of course. Right there, you see the way that the hoodie would fold like that, and just kind of making sure that it looks, they're cartoons, but it looks natural, and then just comparing it. Now here we go. Here's the old assistant on the left with the new one on the right. And the professor will also be seeing a revamp, but I kind of always feel like he's been a bit more iconic, so we're not going to completely jump ship with the way that he looks. His head will stay the same. I might do some new eyes and new faces, but thanks for tuning in to Let's Draw, and that is the new assistant for Crossover.